what if everything you thought you knew about money was wrong? I mean, completely wrong. That's the huge question at the center of the 2008 documentary Zeitgeist, Addendum. Now, this film comes out swinging with a radical critique of our global economic system, and it proposes an even more radical alternative. So today, we're going to break down its core arguments. The film kicks off with a really stark reality check. It argues that these massive global problems we see every day, they aren't just tragic accidents. They're actually symptoms of a system that most of us just take for granted and honestly deeply misunderstand: the monetary system itself.
All right, so the documentary's first major argument tackles a huge question. Where does money actually come from? And according to the film, the answer isn't what you'd think. It's not from a government mint, but from private banks, created literally out of nothing.
You know, the film's first big claim is that money is almost like a religion for us. We have faith in it, right? But very few of us ever stop to question where it comes from. And the film argues this lack of understanding is what allows the entire system to operate completely without scrutiny. Okay, so how does the film claim this whole thing works? It breaks it down into this four-step process. First up, the government needs cash, so it issues treasury bonds. Then the Federal Reserve, and the film makes a big point that this is a private entity, just creates money out of thin air to buy those bonds. That new money gets deposited into a commercial bank, and poof, just like that, it's officially part of the money supply. The takeaway here is just revolutionary. All money, according to them, is created out of that. But wait, it doesn't stop there. This is where things get even wilder. The documentary explains a concept called fractional reserve banking. See, banks are only required to hold a tiny fraction of their deposits in reserve. That means they can legally lend out the rest. The film claims this allows them to create up to 9 times the amount of any new deposit, essentially making even more money from nothing. This 9x multiplier is how the money supply can just expand exponentially. So what's the big deal with all this new money being created? Well, according to the film, the consequence is perpetual inflation. When the money supply grows but the amount of goods and services doesn't, the value of every single dollar you have goes down. Your purchasing power shrinks. And the film calls this a hidden tax that slowly bleeds everyone dry. This leads us right into the second part of the film's thesis, which digs into the really profound systemic consequences of building an entire economy on a foundation of debt. Just look at this chart. It's a really powerful visual for the film's core argument. On one side, you have the US money supply, and on the other, the national debt, both just exploding upwards in near-perfect sync. The film uses this to make a startling point. In our system, money is debt. The two are basically the same thing. The more money there is, the more debt there has to be. And this brings us to what the documentary presents as the central, unsolvable puzzle of the entire system. Think about it. Money is loaned into existence as the principal, right? But every single one of those loans has to be paid back with interest. So where does the extra money to pay that interest come from? The film's shocking answer is, it doesn't. It's never created in the first place. And that paradox leads to a really brutal conclusion. Since there's always more money owed back to the banks than actually exists in circulation, the film argues that things like bankruptcy and foreclosure, they aren't flaws in the system, they are a mathematical certainty. It's like a giant game of musical chairs where, by design, someone always has to be left without a seat. From here, the documentary zooms out from the national economy to the entire global stage, arguing that this debt machine is actually the main tool used by a new kind of empire. And it introduces this term, the corporatocracy. The film defines this as a kind of hidden empire, an unelected elite running the world's biggest corporations. And it claims these are the real powers shaping global politics, all operating with one single goal: maximizing profit, no matter the human or environmental cost. The film, drawing on interviews with self-described economic hitmen, lays out this pretty chilling 3-stage playbook for global control. Stage 1, offer massive loans to developing nations to get them hooked on debt. Stage 2, if a country's leaders pushes back, covert operatives, the so-called jackals, are sent in to remove them. And Stage 3, the last resort, is just straight-up military force to secure corporate interests. And if you're wondering just how much power we're talking about, check this out. The documentary presents a pretty stunning statistic. Of the 100 largest economies on Earth, 51 of them are not countries. They're corporations. The implication here is massive. Corporate power doesn't just rival nation-states anymore. In many cases, it has surpassed them. Okay, so after painting this incredibly bleak picture, the final part of the film does a complete 180. It pivots dramatically to propose what it sees as the only real solution for humanity's survival. And right here, the documentary lays out the two choices side by side: our current monetary economy versus their proposed alternative, a resource-based economy. The vision is a total paradigm shift. We're talking moving away from a system that basically manufactures scarcity for profit to one that uses technology to create genuine abundance for everyone. It's about replacing competition with collaboration and human labor with intelligent automation. So what's the key to making this world of abundance a reality? Well, the film argues it all comes down to energy. It claims that we are literally surrounded by clean, almost limitless power, from geothermal and solar to wind and tidal. The documentary's bold claim is that these technologies could easily meet all of humanity's needs, making the artificial scarcity of our current system totally obsolete. So this is really the heart of the matter. The film argues that our current profit-driven system is in a direct fight with technological progress. Think about it. The goal of technology is to get more efficient, to automate labor, to create abundance. But the goal of the monetary system, it claims, is to maintain scarcity, protect jobs, and generate profit. The two are seen as fundamentally at odds with each other. And that leaves us with the film's ultimate, really provocative question. It challenges all of us to ask whether our problems are actually because of a lack of resources, or if they're just self-imposed limits from an outdated economic system. It really makes you think, doesn't it?